like, what are the best ways that manufacturers can attack the challenge of retaining and attracting employees, and how, I guess, what can Dale Carnegie do to assist that?
That's a good question, and it's really exciting to hear about the growth, especially in the aftermath of the pandemic. So it's a challenge, obviously, that's out there, and I think there's a number of ways to tackle that. What we like to talk about is, boosting employee engagement. And one of the new phrases that I've come up with is the new math of professional development and training, how to make 1 + 1 = 3. Now, there are cases where these manufacturers need bodies, that just, you can't get around that to a certain degree. But there are ways to be able to increase productivity by spiking the engagement of your employees. And you do that through professional development training. And one of the ways that I see the best way to do that is to have that start at the top, right? So we talk about top-down objectives and bottom-up results. So the objectives, the vision, and so forth comes from the leadership. And by the way, while you're creating that, it doesn't hurt to ask the people down below, their thoughts on that, because that can be useful. We have blind spots as leaders. We often have blind spots, so it's good to get input. But once that vision and those ultimate objectives are formulated, how do you cascade that down into the organization, and how do you make that work so that 1 + 1 = 3?
Okay, good morning. My name is Patrick Boyle. I am the Executive Director of IgniteLI. IgniteLI is the Manufacturing Trade Association for all products made here on Long Island. I get to go up to Albany, down to DC, talking with our government officials about what's going on the shop floor. And in doing this, I'm bringing in our service providers, partners in industry, to talk about how we can better serve our community of manufacturers, really address the challenges in business. This morning, I have Michael Frenda with me from Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie is a professional employee training operation, and Mike wants to talk to us about something that everyone's talking about right now, which is labor. How do we attract labor? How do we retain that labor? How do we build our labor pipelines? And really, Dale Carnegie is a great solution for that. Mike, why don't you give us a little intro?
Great, Patrick, thank you. I appreciate the chance to chat with you today about this. And hopefully the manufacturers out here on Long Island get a chance to hear some of this. Dale Carnegie, for those who don't know, we've been working in the professional development and training space for, actually, it's over 108 years now. So we've constantly had to reinvent ourselves to be able to stay current. But what we do is we inspire people to a greater realization of their own unsuspected powers, right? There's a fancy way of saying that we get people to really move outside their comfort zone and develop greater levels of leadership success. You don't have to have a title to be a leader, to act like a leader. And we work in a number of areas: presentations, communications, teamwork, leadership, all those type of things. And it's a way that we can help businesses grow and expand and be more successful, and individuals as well.
Growing and expanding is happening right now across manufacturing here along. I don't know if you're aware of this, but some vertical markets that I like to talk a lot about. Offshore wind right now. We have the world's largest offshore wind projects are happening off of the South Shore of Long Island.
Wow.
We have recreational cannabis, which is passed here in New York State. We introduced now a whole new market of jobs that didn't exist yesterday, right?
That's great.
We have food manufacturing did really well during COVID. Obviously, we all sat at home and ate. And then reshoring. Companies are seeing what's going on in the world with supply chain issues, and they say, I want to bring these operations back home to the States, back home domestically. There are products that I need immediately, and we just can't rely on these international trade to get the things that we need. So across the board, across 11 sectors of manufacturing here in Long Island, we have companies that are growing. And in order to do that, we need to attract and retain employees, which is, again, something that everyone's talking about right now. Labor is a challenge. It's a challenge for everybody, but specific to skilled labor, especially here on Long Island. This is something we've been talking about as long as I've been alive. So I guess, Mike, I want to ask you, like, what are the best ways that manufacturers can attack the challenge of retaining and attracting employees, and how, I guess, what can Dale Carnegie do to assist that?
That's a good question, and it's really exciting to hear about the growth, especially in the aftermath of the pandemic. So it's a challenge, obviously, that's out there, and I think there's a number of ways to tackle that. What we like to talk about is, boosting employee engagement. And one of the new phrases that I've come up with is the new math of professional development and training, how to make 1 + 1 = 3. Now, there are cases where these manufacturers need bodies, that just, you can't get around that to a certain degree. But there are ways to be able to increase productivity by spiking the engagement of your employees. And you do that through professional development training. And one of the ways that I see the best way to do that is to have that start at the top, right? So we talk about top-down objectives and bottom-up results. So the objectives, the vision, and so forth comes from the leadership. And by the way, while you're creating that, it doesn't hurt to ask the people down below, their thoughts on that, because that can be useful. We have blind spots as leaders. We often have blind spots, so it's good to get input. But once that vision and those ultimate objectives are formulated, how do you cascade that down into the organization, and how do you make that work so that 1 + 1 = 3? The bottom line is, people love to be a part of a world that they help to create, and they want to be successful. It's one of our human needs, that we want to be able to contribute and be able to make a difference. If you're not inspired by leadership, you might just tend to check the box, punch in, punch out, do your work, go home. But if you're engaged, and our programs help people to get engaged, the idea is that they become more significant contributors, right? They become business builders. So once you do that, and I can give an example, when I was in the printing business, I did this, and it was amazing how my employees advocated for and embraced things that I was trying to get them to do all along. But once it became part of the incentive, they became highly engaged and boosted productivity to like 35% above where it was, because they felt they were a part of it now. They were contributing and they were profiting from it. We developed a bonus system that coordinated with increased productivity. So we first set a baseline. We did some research, took time, and then implemented some of these new things. And, they made more money. They worked less hours. There was less overtime. The quality went up. All these different benefits that came from it. Clients were happier, so on and so forth. This all starts with boosting employee engagement. And the ways that we do that is through some of the Dale Carnegie programs that we're known for, as high-level communication skills, right? The ability to become a leader. Again, you don't have to have a title to be a leader. You can act as a leader in your organization, but that's essentially what happens. When you spike employee engagement, you get all these benefits. And again, 1 + 1 = 3. Obviously, there are times where you need extra people, and that's a different topic. But how do you make the most out of the people that you have is key. And setting those objectives up top and then having them cascade throughout the organization. I would say this too. I've seen a lot of programs where people invested in training, and it was great that they invested. It's better than non-investing, but you get a very tiny fraction of the benefit if you don't do the following thing, and that is to tie your key objectives and the results that you're looking to get to the training, right? If you're wasting your money and time if you don't do that. So the executive level has to be involved to that extent, where we're actually, and I give examples of that, where I've worked with manufacturers, people that are part of your group, that made sure that their strategic objectives were, the dots were connected within the training, right? They had to come up with programs. The participants in the program had to come up with ideas that increased revenue or decreased costs around the key objectives that the executive leadership set. So I would say, if you're going to invest in training, make sure that the executive level is involved, that there's buy-in there, and that the people understand that those key objectives are there.
Wonderful. And I really like what you said about investing in training and building back that the purposes why we're doing what we're doing, and tailoring that training to your goals, your strategic goals as a company. That's wonderful. So you gave us a couple examples of how businesses have interacted with Dale Carnegie, but can you give us a couple more about really some success stories?
Yeah, sure. So, even outside of Dale Carnegie, I know about, stories. I also own a janitorial service company, so I'm kind of a student of that industry. And there's a company in Cincinnati that was 38 full-time people short every night. So you can imagine what a challenge that was for them, scrambling every night to meet the client's needs and so on. And they developed a program, and it actually became famous, and a book called The Dream Manager. And it was all about tapping into the dreams of their employees to increase retention, right? Sometimes we don't want good retention, right? If the employees aren't bought in, they aren't engaged, maybe you're better off finding somebody else. But if you have people in place already and they're valuable to some extent, why not help to increase, that time that they stay there? This company took their retention level from about 3 months on average to 3 years. This book was written about it called The Dream Manager. I highly recommend that people in leadership read that book. It was all about how they turned things around by, again, boosting employee engagement. So while the people were there, they were great contributors. And that's what it's all about. Getting the people want to be successful. They want to contribute by and large. That's a human need. And I think it's up to leadership to inspire them and to get their buy-in, get their ideas. There has to be an alignment between the top and the different layers of the company, right? We want to make sure that we're in alignment with the vision, the values, and the mission of the company, and that those people can make their goals, as a part of that, but in alignment with the company, so everybody wins.
I like what you said about tapping into the dreams of your employees. I had, during a summer internship, during college, I worked for Estee Lauder down in Bristol, Pennsylvania. Wow. I had this employee who was just a thorn in everybody's side, and I couldn't figure out how to inspire this fella to being part of the team. So I found out that he was a big fisherman. That's all he wanted to talk about. On the weekends, he'd go out to the shore, he'd go fishing. So I bought a fishing pole. I went fishing. I didn't catch anything, but then I got to talk. I could relate to this guy, and we talked a little bit about
him.
What's that?
You caught him.
I caught. That's very good, very good. I caught him. So tapping into what inspires and what motivates your employees, I think, is really key. That's wonderful insight.
I just add something there. That's a great story, and Dale Carnegie said something that really aligns with that really well. He said that you get more people interested by being interested in other people. You'll win more sales in 2 months than you will in 2 years by trying to get them interested in you. So you did that Dale Carnegie principle really well by showing sincere interest in that other person.
Wonderful. Yeah, I you know what, I think I read that somewhere, so that makes sense.
Right.
Well, I think we'll wrap up this conversation. This was obviously wonderful, and I think this is something we're going to do more often. But for anyone listening in that wants to get in touch with you, Mike, how can we do that?
Well, you can reach out to me via email at michael.frenda@dalecarnegie.com, or you can reach me via phone at 631-875-0595. One other quick story. I know we're up against the clock here, but Jay King's was a very good client of Dale Carnegie for many years. John King sold Cisco now, but he was a great leader, and he always made it very clear. His vision statement really was a good example of the things I was talking about. And, he basically said, nobody can be a leader in our company unless they go to Dale Carnegie. So I know that, that's a practical application of the success of what we do.
Yeah, they've been a regional leader in food distribution, and they're a wonderful family. And they really encompass what we're trying to do here, building strong local communities to keep businesses here on Long Island, to keep families together. In that spirit, Michael, I just want to thank you, as always, for being a great sponsor and a really great partner of IgniteLI. Again, my name is Patrick Boyle, Executive Director, IgniteLI. Oh, thank you for joining us today, and stay tuned. We'll be posting more of these videos. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.